This is kind of a response video to one of Lane's recent videos. I can relate so much to what Lane says about not knowing whether they don't identify as a binary male because of what society says a binary male must be, or because they're not one. I've gone back and forth on this so many times. Do I not identify as a woman because I'm butch lesbian who just can't relate to or connect with what society and mass media says a woman is or should be like, or is it because I'm not one? I also don't think it's possible for me to separate the two in my head, and so I end up in this kind of cyclical thought process. I've been stuck on this for years now, and for quite a while I felt that I had to be 100% certain of what my gender was before I could do anything transition related. But this is where I'm at, and this is where I've been at for a long time, and I'm starting to accept that this might be where I'm at for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that. I think knowing that I wanted top surgery was a lot easier for me than trying to grasp a gender label that I felt fit me completely. See, I still identify very strongly as a lesbian, and I think a reason for this is growing up, I was told by my peers and by society and media, but mostly my peers, that lesbian was a dirty word, that it wasn't something you were supposed to be, that it was something you should be shameful of. And it took me a very long time to reclaim that word and to be comfortable with it and to be proud of that. And I fought so hard for this identity, lesbian, and for me to feel comfortable and confident saying I am a lesbian. I used to be terrified of saying that. It used to make me feel sick in my stomach because of the way I'd been socialized. And so finally getting to this point where I could say I'm a lesbian with no shame was such a powerful moment. But then the question is, can I be a lesbian but not be a woman? Or can lesbian be my gender? Can butch be my gender? I know some people that identify as butch as their gender and not as women, but still as lesbians. I think I need to do some processing before coming to a conclusion on that front. What I learned is that I know what I want for my body and I know what I want for myself, and I can know these things without knowing my gender. I knew I wasn't happy having breasts. I knew I'd be a lot happier after top surgery, which I am. What does this mean for my gender? Who knows? This is why I currently identify as agender, because I haven't found any other gender identity label that I feel fits me completely. But I think identifying as agender for me is more a reflection of my issue with gender as a whole and gender at large than my own personal gender. And don't get me wrong, I totally respect people who have gender identities. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when I think about what is my gender, a big roadblock for me has been, well, what is gender? What is the broader concept of gender? And I can't get past that. There's just so many variables and so much differing information on that front that I can't get past what is gender to the point where I can then explore what is my gender. I've also noticed recently that I have a bit of internalized butchphobia that I really need to work through before being able to discuss with myself what my gender identity really is. I also think it's kind of a folly to assume that everyone has a real gender. Like, that is your real gender, and once you find it, everything will be right. I feel like for a lot of people, and I'm not saying most people, but I feel like for some people, there could be a range of genders that you would be equally comfortable being read as or identifying with. For myself, I think that if I'd been in a really stable family home life situation when I was a teenager, and if I'd known about trans identities then, I may have come out as a trans guy, and I may have socially transitioned to male as a teenager. And I think if that had happened, I'd be a very happy, well-adjusted young man right now. But I didn't know about trans identities, and my home life as a teenager was incredibly tumultuous. But now I am either non-binary or a cis lesbian, who knows, and I'm also very comfortable with those identities. And the reasons that I would have transitioned as a teenager aren't true for me now, but that doesn't mean that I would have regretted it. Does that make sense? And I think that having had access to that wouldn't have made my life better or worse, it just would have had a different outcome, if that makes sense. And I know a lot of people might be worried that that might give ammo to transphobes, but I don't really care, because if you're transphobic, then you're an asshole already. You don't need any ammo, to be honest. Yeah, so I think there are plenty of people who'd be quite comfortable being seen as or being read as a number of genders, or more than one anyway. And so maybe I'm quite comfortable being seen as or read as a cis lesbian, and I'm also quite comfortable being seen as or read as a non-binary person. And because I'm comfortable with both those things, it's really hard for me to come out or come to the conclusion of my one true gender identity, because I don't even know if I have one. Like, if we want to get into the nitty-gritty complex terminology of non-binary genders, I could be a gender flux, or I could be a gender fluid demigirl, non-binary genderqueer person, or I could be a butch, or I could be a gender fluid butch agender person. And like all of these things, when I hear them, I think, yeah, that could be me, that could sound right. Does that make me any less trans if sometimes as an assigned female at birth person I identify as a woman, or as a butch person, or as a lesbian? Who knows, right? It's a really complex topic, and I really think there's a lot more discussion to be had, and I'm really willing to put myself out there and have these kind of talks. So in conclusion, maybe I'm a lesbian identified cis woman who just wanted top surgery and finds it really hard to navigate being gender non-conforming. Or maybe I'm a non-binary person. But either way, I'm so grateful to have had top surgery, and whatever my path is in the future, I'm happy with myself and my body now. I feel like my whole body is mine now, not just most of it.